Finally, what you've been waiting for, the sex part. I know from the very start you're like, I just want to fuck hot girls. Well, we're going to get down to exactly how to do just that now. But first we're going to talk about the mentality that goes behind everything you do, and then we'll get into the technicals. So the mentality that goes into having sex with a girl once you get back to her place, the biggest thing I can emphasize for you, which is the same thing I emphasized in getting her home, is patience. Okay, in my experience, if you get a girl into your house and try and have sex with her right then and there, you're going to get a lot of resistance. But if you let her chill out, relax, get to know your place for 5 minutes or so, usually things get very, very easy from there. In fact, what I like to do a lot of times is I'll let a girl in and I'll just I have to go to the bathroom, just go use the restroom and let her get familiar with my place. Now, obviously, do this with a girl you trust, right? And ideally, don't be bringing girls back to your place who you think are going to rob you blind in the 5 minutes you're in the bathroom. But let the girl get comfortable, walk around your place, etc. You can even do little extra things, like I used to leave a window open so she can hear the street noises so she doesn't feel claustrophobic, or leave the TV on so she's not just sitting there in silence. But the idea is let her get comfortable, let her explore your place, let her see that it's not like a dark dungeon where bad things are going to happen to her, and let her see that you're not in a hurry and you're not needy. Again, remember that phrase from the pulling section, which is, and I'm having a good time no matter what, and that's what really matters, isn't it? Remember that, okay? You want to convey to her that it's an experience for you, and you want to actually treat it as an experience. So take your time, enjoy the process, savor it. And what you'll find, ironically, is if you're in a rush, you'll usually slow things down because she'll feel your rush and still start being resistant. Whereas if you're patient, things will tend to go very, very, very quickly because there will be no resistance. It's easier to go step by step, slowly and gradually, and just go straight to sex than it is to go really fast and then stop and go backwards and then not even know if you're going to get there. Okay, so be patient. I cannot emphasize to you enough how much you need to be patient. Second huge thing is when you get a girl back to your place, it's really useful, if you can, to have what I call an intermediate venue. So, for example, if your apartment complex has a roof, maybe take the girl to the roof and hang out before you go back to your place. Or if you just have a standard apartment, take her and hang out in the living room before you take her to the bedroom. The idea is certain locations scream sex to a girl more than others. And the more the location says sex, the more she's going to be inherently nervous and resistant. The more their location just seems like casual, fun place, the more likely she is to just escalate and have a good time and think, haha, this is just some fun, crazy thing we're doing. Okay, so for example, say I had an apartment with a rooftop. Probably what I do is go grab drinks at my place, run her up to the rooftop, maybe let her in my place briefly so she can get another feel for the place, go up to the rooftop, chill out, have the drinks up there, and then if it's a private enough place, I might even start getting quite physical up there, getting her aroused, and then maybe be the one to pull away, be the one to chill out, and then take it downstairs from there. Or if it's private enough, I might even just have sex with her there. The point is, her resistance is going to be far less in that place that's perceived of as a semi-public place, as a place that's not perceived of as a bedroom, a stereotypical sex location. All right. As soon as she gets in a bedroom, she immediately thinks, oh shit, I'm in a bedroom, sex might happen. And every little touch, every little caress, every kiss, she's thinking, oh shit, do I want to have sex with him? Oh shit, do I want to have sex with him? When you're on a rooftop or by a pool or in a living room even, she's just thinking, oh, this is fun, I'm enjoying it. Okay, so it's a different frame, and that intermediate venue can be a massive difference. Okay, so that's another part and parcel of having patience, but it's also understanding that every location, because of social stereotypes, has a certain meaning to girls, and you want to avoid those social stereotypes. You also, along that same line, want to avoid key words. Like when you bring a girl upstairs, you don't want to say, come up to my place or come up to my bedroom, and say, hey, you want to come up and have a cup of coffee. There's a reason that's such a cliche, is because it works. That kind of thing, it works because that euphemism, it allows her again to have sex, which she wants to, without feeling like a slut, which she obviously does not want to. Okay, so that's super important. Last big mental sort of idea thing that you need to have in your head for initiating sex and moving things forward is a model I call 2 steps forward, 1 step back. All right, and that means you push forward, you escalate a little bit, you get closer, more intimate, more physical, and then at some point you back off. And then you go forward a little bit, more pressure, a little bit, more physical, closer to sex, and then you back off. If it's a linear, just getting closer and closer and closer and closer and inevitable, she's going to get very, very nervous. But if you occasionally just back off, relax, show her you're not needy, show her you're willing to take your time, maybe even make her wonder why you backed off, like, oh, he liked me so much, what happened? Did I do something wrong? And have her even chase you during that block, it's going to go a lot faster. Again, this is the irony, right? Going the linear path of escalate, 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 escalate will take you a long time because you'll get resistance and make her nervous. If you go 2 forward, 1 back, 2 forward, 1 back, that's going to be a lot better. And by the way, this 2 steps forward, 1 step back is not some kind of like mathematical formula or scientific process. It's just the idea of escalate a bit and pull back, escalate a bit and pull back. It's not like some scientific, like, you know, hand on thigh, hand on stomach, hand off, hand on stomach, hand on breast, hand on, nothing like that. It's not fucking calculus. But the idea is go forward a little bit, back off, and let the interaction breathe throughout. Again, this is all, again, part of foreplay. This is part of having great experience, and it's what an abundant man would do. All right? So that's 2 steps forward, 1 step back. So that's the mentality of what to do when you get a girl back to your place. Let's talk about the technical elements of exactly how you can seal the deal super efficiently coming up next. All right, so here are the technical points, my power moves for getting through that last little bit. Some people call it last minute resistance, some people call it foreplay. I prefer the idea of foreplay and teasing to a last minute resistance, because ideally if you do it right, there should not really be resistance. Ideally, if you do it really well, you should get to the point where she's actually chasing you, okay? So here are some technical points to emphasize and think about when you get her back to your place. First one is wait 5 minutes. Okay, in general, wait 5 minutes. Now, if she's ripping your clothes off all the way home and she's already like basically trying to rip your dick out of your pants, that's different. Go ahead and do it. But in general, in a normal interaction, wait a few minutes, let her get comfortable, and then escalate. I kind of mentioned that a minute ago, but it's so important, it bears repeating. Second thing, and this is a huge, huge, huge idea, is there's what I call the point of no return. Okay, and this is something that's very, very frustrating for me as I was learning game. What I found was if I went on a date with a girl and it went pretty well and we got a little bit physical and then we cut it off, very often we'd have a second date. However, if we got really physical, like we got really close to having sex but didn't have sex, the girl would probably never see me again. But then if we actually had sex, then she probably would see me again. And it was pretty weird because like the dates that were like pretty good but not great, they'd see me again. Dates that were amazing when we had sex, they'd see me again. But the dates that were actually better than the pretty good ones wouldn't happen. There would be no second date. And I realized over time, what happened here was there's a certain point where if you go past that point and don't have sex, it becomes very hard for the girl to justify seeing you again. Think of it this way. If you almost had sex with a girl, came very, very close and didn't, first of all, she's going to think if she meets up with you again, she's meeting up for sex, which again, that's going to make her feel slutty, right? Girls don't want to feel that way. They want to feel like it just happened. It wasn't their fault. No big deal. All right? You know, they just came out for the fun time and oops, penis ended up inside of me. That's kind of what they want. All right, so if you get too close and don't get there, you're violating that. But secondly, if you get really close, so it's so overtly on the table and they don't have sex with you, they're going to go home and they're going to start justifying all the reasons they didn't have sex. Like, oh, I didn't have sex with him because this. I didn't have sex with him because this. You know, he was too short, or he wasn't rich enough, or they had a weird vibe, or he said this rude thing to the waitress, or whatever the fuck. So start justifying whatever reasons and finding all the negatives in you. Whereas if you go ahead and have sex with the girl, then they're going to start justifying all the positives. Also, if you had a really good date but you never made an attempt at sex but it was a good experience, they'll start justifying all the reasons they had a good time and they'll start finding your positive qualities. So what happens is there's that little segment between the point of no return and actual sex where you won't get another date and you also didn't get sex right then and there. Okay, so how do you know where that point of no return is? It's kind of a feel thing, but know that it's the moment when things get real close. So for some girls, it'll be like if you start fingering them, that's the point of no return. Some will be when you start taking their clothes off, that's a point of no return. Another one would be sometimes if a girl starts like getting very physical with you and you immediately jump on it and get too needy at that moment, it gets too hot and heavy, and then it's too much for her, that can be a point of no return. So think to yourself, when you're at that point of no return, based on your experience, based on your feel, do you think it's likely that you're going to go all the way to sex? If it's very likely, then just go ahead and do it. If it's not so likely, what you want to do is kind of like take your time at that point of no return, tease, and you want to get her chasing you at that point. The other thing that really helps is if you get some logical commitments from her. Remember we talked about focus, relevance, emotion, decision when we talked about hooking? When you get more decisions, more logical buy-in, like she's telling you, you're amazing, I really like you, I think you're great, we should do this together. The more logical buy-in you have, as well as the emotional arousal, the more likely you're to get through that point of no return all the way to sex. If it's just emotional arousal, if at any point the energy dies even a little bit, she's gonna be like, wait, what's going on? This isn't okay, etc. Okay? So make sure that you're getting a logical buy-in as well. But the idea is you want to be aware of the point of no return, know when you're likely to cross it, and don't cross it a little bit. Don't cross it a little bit. Make sure that when you do cross it, there's a good chance of it going all the way, and make sure that you're crossing it with momentum. You're crossing it with her very bought in, very turned on, etc. Otherwise, just don't cross it. Take your time again, be patient. It's very, very, very useful. Next, I want to tell you 2 power moves that I use to completely just obliterate like any kind of last minute resistance or any kind of like sex not going down when you get back to your place. And these are particularly useful right around that point of no return area, but they're useful in general. First one is what I call the 2 hands for 1 move. All right, and what this is basically, first of all, understand a lot of girls like to be dominated to a certain degree. A lot of girls like a man that like takes charge. So a lot of girls will get very aroused if you do things like pin their hands behind their back, that sort of stuff, or even things like holding them down, choking them, that kind of stuff. Now be careful, if a girl objects to any of that kind of stuff, back off quickly because it's high risk. But a lot of girls are very aroused by it. So one move that I really like is to take both of the girls' hands in one of my hands. I'll do this up against a wall or on a bed, and I pin them above her head, like just pin them up above her head. And the great thing that it does is it gives me a hand free to use. So with that hand, I can escalate and I have some freedom. But the other great thing it does is if she's going to have a problem or if she's going to have any kind of resistance or objections, probably she's going to like use her hands to do that. So because I have her hands pinned in my hand, if I notice her hands twitching as I'm about to do something, I stop what I'm doing. So say, for example, I'm running my hand up her thigh and her hands like twitch or there seems to be some kind of resistance, I immediately just pull my hand back and go off the other way, right? So that way, instead of her thinking, oh my God, this pushy guy, I have to stop him, she's thinking, why did he stop? Does he not like me anymore? Or she's thinking, wow, this guy reads me so well, he understands me sexually, he knew right where I was uncomfortable, and he knew just when to pull away. He's an amazing lover. One of the two. But it's a great way to find out the information of where she's at without actually hearing no. Because remember, in game, you don't want to hear no. Every no sets you back. Now, just because you hear no, by the way, in any of this stuff, doesn't necessarily mean like no, not ever. It just means not at this moment. Take your time, get to know me better. So don't ever think just because you hear no one time that like it's never going to happen. Just, back off, change your mood, not her mind, escalate slowly, be conscientious, etc., and keep going. But understand that it's better if you make her comfortable at all times, escalate at a pace she's, used to and actually like really enjoying and even escalating more on you. Okay, so that's what the 2 hands in 1 move is for. Second move that I really like as a power move is what I call the preemptive freeze out. A freeze out basically, it's an old school pickup tactic where basically when the girl is not responding well to you, you just kind of like go cold, turn away, and you make her kind of wonder what she did wrong or why you don't like her anymore. And it's a way of sort of like regaining your power when you've lost your power by trying too hard. I can see sometimes when that's useful, but I don't actually use it that way. I don't actually believe in it that way because I think it's very reactive. I think it's very like, seems a little butthurt, seems a little low value. So I don't like to do it. But what I will do is the preemptive freeze out, which is things are going really well, but you're not sure if it's going to go the whole way. So you're almost at that point of no return. Things are getting very hot and heavy, but you're concerned it might not go all the way to sex. What I'll do a lot of times is I'll actually stop the interaction there and take a break and then come back to it. Because when I come back the second time, almost always I'll pass through the point of no return very easily. So what I'll do is I'll be like, hey, hold that thought. And then I'll go grab us another glass of wine. Or I'll go use the restroom real fast and I'll just leave her like on the bed to like chill out and whatnot. And if things have been going well, she's thinking like how good things are, or she's wondering when I'll come back, or she's taking more clothes off to get sexy for me or something like that. And maybe she's even thinking like, whoa, did I do something wrong? Does he like me? Oh shit, I like him so much. I hope I didn't mess this up. Then I come back, and a lot of times maybe I won't even come back on the bed. I'll just sit over next to the bed and just start talking to her in a more casual way. And now she's really like, oh shit, what did I do wrong? And then a lot of times they'll invite me back to the bed. I'll be like, hey, come over here. And now they're escalating on me. Even if they don't do that, I will just talk for a little bit, eventually get back on the bed, eventually start over again. And because I've escalated before, remember, once you've escalated to a point, it's very easy to escalate to that point again. So I'll be able to escalate. And again, that point, that last minute resistance area will be a lot easier because I've shown that I'm patient, because I'm not needy, because I'm abundant, that I'm willing to risk having them leave. All these very, very positive qualities. Okay, so I like the preemptive freeze out a lot as a point of no return kind of maneuver, or as a way to take something that's going pretty well and make it go really, really well. So that's my other sort of like nuclear move for last minute resistance that I really like. Okay, 3 little advanced things that you might do that come up occasionally are these. Number 1, when it comes time to take clothes off, if you take her clothes off, or you take her shirt off or her pants off, she might resist that. She might hold them on. She might be uncomfortable. 2 reasons. 1 is that that's very intimate. 2 is she might be a little insecure about her body. Even girls with great bodies sometimes are a little insecure, especially with the lights on, that kind of stuff. Another one is if you think she might be insecure with her body, or if you're getting these indicators, turn the lights off and just escalate with the lights off. That can help a lot. But the thing I was going to mention is take your clothes off first. Okay, take your clothes off first rather than hers, because it's taking your shirt off says the exact same thing as taking her shirt off. But if you take her shirt off, she might resist it. You take your shirt off, it just happened. It's no big deal. So get yourself naked first rather than her. And also, if she's at all body conscious, the fact that you're naked will make her more comfortable with that as well. Second one that's very useful sometimes is leave her panties on. Now, if it's really on, that moment of taking the girl's panties off is one of the most fun moments in sex, so by all means do it when it's really on. But if it's one of those ones where you're not quite as sure, you don't know if she's there yet, a lot of times it's better to leave the panties on because that's a symbol of safety. That's a symbol of it's okay, nothing's going to happen. Similar to kind of how the intermediate venue is like, oh, sex won't happen yet. If the panties are still on, she's like, oh, sex won't happen yet. And she'll actually allow herself to get more and more aroused and allow you to get more and more intimate. And then panties are no big deal. You can always just slide them to the side and just have sex anyway. So it's not that big of a deal overall. But it's massively, massively helpful. The other thing with the panties on that you can do is you can actually rub the outside like through the panty. So you're basically like almost having sex with her and your penis is like half in with the panties stretched inside, but you're not actually having sex yet. But it feels very much like sex to her. She'll get extremely, extremely aroused. And a lot of times she'll be like, hey, do you have a condom? And just like ask you for sex at that point. Okay, so very, very useful to actually leave the panties on instead of taking them off, as counterintuitive as that might seem. Last really advanced tactic is there are certain girls that it's actually better not to kiss them. Okay, certain girls aren't into kissing, so if you've tried to kiss a few times and it doesn't work out, just use an alternative move. I like kissing the neck, or I like pulling the hair, something else that's equally arousing but not quite as intimate. And that oftentimes you can do those things and have sex even if the girl won't kiss you. And I found especially this happens a lot with girls that have boyfriends. If a girl has a boyfriend or she's just come out of like a relationship and she's kind of in this ambiguous position emotionally, she's not sure where she's at, she may feel that kissing is too intimate. And so she may be very resistant to that, but you can very easily have sex with her without kissing her. So if you get the vibe that everything else is good, all the other indicators are in place, but she won't kiss you, instead of trying and hearing no, 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 and then she eventually leaves because you push too hard, just forget about kissing, do other forms of escalation, go ahead and have sex with her, and then maybe she'll kiss you after sex, or maybe at least she'll have a real discussion with you after sex, you can figure it out, and then go forward from there. All right, so understand as a very advanced tactic, you don't always have to kiss the girl. All right, so that's kind of the entire structure from open all the way to close. Every step of the way, technical ideas, mental ideas, you've seen some infield, you have some exercises, et cetera, et cetera. Take all that information, use it, review it over and over again, but the biggest thing I can tell you is start implementing it because the game is played in the field. So as much as it's tempting to watch and rewatch this, go ahead, watch it through, get that information, but the best way to use this is go out, try something, come back to the section where you had a problem. If you had a problem hooking sets, come back to the hooking section. If you got a girl home but it didn't work out, come back and look at the how to, deal with escalation once you get her home section. There's something in here for every single sticking point you're possibly going to find. So review this over and over again as necessary, but remember, game is played in the field. You want to be spending at least 2 to 3 times as much time in the field as watching reviewing material. Probably more like 4 times or 10 times as much time in the field as reviewing material, okay? So get out there, use this stuff. You have all the pieces in place. Now go do it.